Hi there, welcome to a new video uh, of my rating climb. My road to 1200, starting today at 1081. And yeah, so I played two games. Well, one game and a few moves basically. The first game, my opponent abandoned the game for an unclear reason after a couple of moves. So that was an easy win. And the second game was a pretty good game, which I was very happy about. Yeah, so I'll show you in a minute. First game I played with an 88.3% accuracy. What does that mean? Because there's only a few moves. So here we go. Bear with me. So my opponent played with the d4 pawn, I believe it is. Yeah, d4 pawn. So I challenged him with the d5, and this is a bit of an awkward move because he is blocking his own bishop from coming into the game, which I wasn't too worried about. I mean, I'm quite happy. And so I just brought my knight out. He brought his knight out. I brought my bishop out. He, yeah, that's sometimes to say you bring out your knights before the bishops, but in this case, with me bringing the knight out, the bishop out first, my opponent cannot go here, here. Yeah, I could go here, but then I could either block it or push a pawn. So this prevents him from developing, because now obviously he's got already like a weird structure. I mean, this bishop cannot go out. This bishop is stuck. So yeah, that was pretty good for me. I'm just carrying on with developing, castling. I'm bringing my bishop out, my second bishop. He's bringing the knight out. Me bringing the knight out. This is just like a waiting move. I don't know why. I mean, it's not that I was going to go there anyway. Being captured, nothing there. Oh, I could pin maybe, but there's nothing to pin here. So, like if the king is there or the queen is there, I could understand. You want me to prevent from coming in there and create a pin. There's nothing to pin for me, so this is for me like a waste of time. So I've castled. Um, okay, well, bringing the pawns out. I mean, if this one is coming one square further, there's two attackers on this pawn. Oh, hang on. This one and this one. So I wasn't worried. But I thought like, okay, this might seem to contradict to what I said, but I thought like this is um, like if he does come straight forward with this pawn rather than this pawn first, then I can take it. And this is all protected. Yeah, so that was the reason behind this move. And he wasn't really developing quickly either, so that gave me time to put in such a move. Um, so I was kind of thinking, what is he going to do? He cannot go there, so he's probably going to go there and find a nice outpost. So I said, no outpost for you, Mr. Knight, because obviously now you cannot go there anymore. And no idea what this is all about. I'm just connecting the rooks so they can see each other, getting my queen into the game. I did look like, can I get be chased around? Not with this knight, because it cannot go anywhere. This knight can go here, but I'm just going to chop it off, and then the pawn will take, but it'll be recaptured with my bishop, so I'm up a pawn, so I was not worried. And this is actually what my opponent did. So I'm just basically winning a pawn. And with this move, I actually didn't see it myself. He brought his queen out, and I didn't actually see that there was a hanging piece. for me to take with my queen. I didn't see it. My opponent apparently didn't see it. So I just thought like, okay, well, just let's carry on developing. I was eyeing this pawn, which is weak. So I thought like, if I go here with the tempo on the queen, I can have two attackers on this one, and maybe he's only got one defender if I chase the queen around away. And he abandoned the game. Maybe because he just realized this is hanging, and he's obviously now being attacked by my knights. Um, anyway, this is just an assumption. Maybe someone called or someone knocked on the door, whatever. He abandoned the game nevertheless. So here we are with the second game, and I was playing as white this time, and yeah, so here we go. I'm quite happy with this game. I'm still trying to find out if there's a way I can show this on this OBS video system, like with the eval bar, or how I played, how my opponent played. I played with 91.9% accuracy, my opponent 83.7%, so not bad by my opponent at all, but I played well. Played with an estimated rating of 1850. Opening was brilliant. Excellent, I must say. Middle game was excellent, and the end game was the best, like a star. My opponent played with 1700. He played pretty good, but I outplayed him nevertheless, which is always good, obviously. So here we go. I'm bringing the d4 pawn out. My opponent, same, d5, knight out, and it's like a queen's pawn opening. And I'm not very familiar with it, but I do know, like, if he pushes on, fine. If he captures, fine. I can recapture with the queen, no problems. I've just recently learned that e4 is the best option to counter this. So I'm maybe try that next time, because then if I bring my pawn out here, if he recaptures here, I'll just recapture. If he recaptures here, captures here, I recapture there, and I'm in a solid position nevertheless. But I wasn't quite sure, so I thought like just leave it, develop. I obviously could develop this to retake here, but then I'm shutting out my bishop, which I didn't want to do. And I didn't see any issue anyway, so I just kept on developing, got my bishop out, which is the best choice apparently. He captured, I recaptured, and then obviously if you want to stay in the game, you have to bring out your knight here to protect this pawn. My opponent didn't do that. He attacked my queen, so I could just capture a free pawn. I'm being he captures, he would trade queens, and I've straight away have an attack on this fork. I did notice that my opponent obviously also had play, possibly. He could go here and fork me here, but I thought like if his first move is here, I'll just castle. And if he doesn't, we'll see what happens. So he chased me away. I couldn't obviously take this pawn because it's protected by the knight. So I move back, which is a good choice, but this is apparently better. Okay. Oh, maybe, yeah, I can understand why, because if he comes out to try to fork me, then I have two protectors for the square. because he's obviously also eyeing this square. So that'd be a bit more solid, I suppose. But anyway, he brought his bishop out to defend this pawn one more time, which was fine by me. I wasn't too keen on getting that pawn. I just wanted to get castle and develop. So that's what I did. I castled. He brought the knight out. And I obviously cannot go into this. Yeah, he wasn't just protecting this pawn, but also protecting this square for the fork. So I thought like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like if I capture this and he recaptures with the knight, this bishop is hanging. So in a way with this move, I'm preventing him from castling, which is not really a big deal because the queens are off the board. But there you go. He didn't fall for that little tactic, and he did actually see it. So he cannot castle anymore, which is no problem. Just carrying on developing. I'm up a pawn, so I thought like, okay, well, just let's carry on, trade off the pieces and go into an endgame with one pawn up, and maybe if I'm lucky, my opponent gets stressed because he's down a little bit and makes some mistakes. So I'm challenging the bishop, and he obviously is down in material slightly. He doesn't want to have any of it. So I thought like, okay, I know he's moving the same piece twice. This is probably why I get an inaccuracy. Oh, this pawn is undefended, but I mean, I'm not to worry about it because if he gets it, which he does, you'll see his bishop is trapped. So this is a little idea. If you're new to this this part, these pawns are normally always poisoned, as they say, because now I can bring up one pawn and the bishop is stuck, and now I can just pick it up. He does actually defend it with the knight, but I thought like, okay, well, let me just bring in some more troops. Obviously, I was looking at everything. He's bringing in the rooks and stuff, so I was constantly scanning for any possible tricks he could throw at me. I mean, you could obviously push this pawn and challenging me, but this is obviously like always defended, and I could always get his bishop with a check and then move my stuff around. So I was seeing I was safe. There was no tactics floating about. So he decides to just sacrifice his bishop. There's nothing else he can do because otherwise he would have captured it with my knight. He would have recaptured and I would have captured that again. So at least now he gains 1 point, 1 pawn. So recapture with the pawn. This is not very clever, obviously, trading pieces when you're down. But he's thinking he's getting some counterplay, which he doesn't, because he's bringing out the bishop. And obviously now I can understand why he's doing this, because he's putting pressure on the knight with 2 pieces and eyeing on the king for a check. And this one is defending, but obviously there's also a rook here eyeing at him. But what my opponent didn't see is that my knight isn't actually pinned, so it's free to move to this square, forking the king and the bishop. That'd be just full 3 points up, and if he decides to grab my hang on, if he decides to grab my knight, I can just recapture it, and sure, my opponent can give a check, but it doesn't do anything. So this is what happened, and he captured. So at least he's like, rather than 3 points down, he's 2 points down, and he gives me a check. I stepped out of the dark squares to avoid any more checks or tricks from my opponent. Now he's bringing out the pawns, and obviously this one is hanging now because he's defended twice, attacked twice, and only defended once. So I grab that pawn, and if he captures me, I recapture with a check and get that pawn. And if he doesn't capture me, I'm attacking him, so he has to move away, which he did because he's obviously down in material. And yeah, so I thought this is going well. Better be on the safe side. Bring my rook back all the way so they see each other, protect each other, and continuously checking out any tactics. He's giving me a check, which doesn't do anything. Yeah, he's gonna get a pawn. So stepped out of the way on a light square to not get into the way of the bishop. So he grabs a pawn. I attack the pawn, protect the pawn. He's attacking this pawn, and I'm challenging him because obviously this is now defended twice, and this one is defended, and he's down in material, so he doesn't really want that. So I did see there's an attack on this square twice. Oh, twice, but it's also defended twice, so no issue there. So I thought like trade rooks, which obviously he didn't want to, which is fair enough. And you now we get into these 3 pawns again, which are poisoned, but you have to look if you can get away. Because if you cannot get away, say if I grab this and they push the pawn, I cannot get away, then you shouldn't take it. Obviously, if they push this one, I can just get out. And because my rook is here, if they decide to push the pawn, I'm not trapped because I can just grab it with a check and I'm out. So this is a safe way to grab this pawn. And he is trying his best to get a pawn back, but obviously I'm just defending it again. Okay, this is a pawn. Stepping out of the way, once again on the light squares, not to get involved with the bishop. And I thought like maybe at some time I can get rid of his rook, and this one is unprotected. At least now the rook needs to stay on this line all the time to defend this bishop, or he needs to move the bishop away. So he stays on that line, and I'm going to double up, see if I can get this pawn and maybe this pawn, or get this pawn and get behind these pawns, because obviously he has 2 free passed pawns, which I was not really too worried about. I was very willing to sacrifice a bishop. And obviously I have a bishop and a king and a rook. And this pawn is promoting on a light square, so he's only got 1 attacker. And maybe his king, but that's far, far away. So I thought it's safe for me to double up. He kept pushing, and I gave him a check, and my opponent resigned. Which I think is fair enough. I mean, I would have never grabbed this pawn. What would have happened if he stepped away, say, stepped close to the action? I would have just gone here, and he could have either pushed this pawn and would have taken it, or he could have done something else. Maybe push this pawn and just grabbing a pawn. So there was no counterplay, and then it's just 1 passed pawn with yeah, way more defense than attack. So there you have it. So I am now currently at 1104 again. So I'm 50 points away from my high score, and it's going quite well the last couple of days to a week. I think I've gained That doesn't really matter. It's going well, and so hopefully this will carry on. Tomorrow morning I have over the board games again, so I'm going to film that also and load it up tomorrow. And maybe have a game or two in the afternoon online. We'll see what happens. If I feel like it, I'm playing tomorrow against an opponent which I've beaten 6 out of 6, but never assume anything. Last time he nearly beat me in the official game, but he blundered 2 rooks at the end. So I'm not taking it lightly. It's not something that straight away is a win. We'll see what happens. Yeah. So this was today, and thank you very much for watching. If you do like this video, these videos, at the bottom you can see a red button. In the bottom you can see a red button. You can click it to subscribe to my channel. It's a new channel, trying to get some new subscribers, get more views, so I get better visibility, and yeah, just trying to get into the game. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.